Wednesday the 29th of May 1974, and at Bridge Street Station on Glasgow's underground railway system, the subway trains go about their daily business, carrying the citizens of Glasgow round their city, a duty they've discharged faithfully since 1896. Built as a cable-hauled railway in the reign of Queen Victoria, apart from electrification, it's changed little in nearly 80 years of service, and it has a very special place in the hearts of the people of Glasgow.
I like the subway. I think it's pretty good. We've never really had any trouble with it. Well, I think the subway is a good means of transport. It's far better than the bus anyway.
It's far too old-fashioned, all these steps.
I enjoy it.
It's round and round, you know.
There's Party Cross and Cessnock, Hillhead and Merthyr Street, George's Cross and Govan Cross, where all the people meet. West Street, Shields Road, the train goes round and round. You've never lived unless you've been on the Glasgow Underground.
I always call it the subway.
Oh, underground.
I call it the subway or the tube. Glasgow Underground.
Glasgow subway.
The underground.
Subway.
I don't think it matters. I just think of it as being a good way of travelling.
There's Party Cross and Cessnock, Hillhead and Merthyr Street, George's Cross and Govan Cross, where all the people meet. West Street, Shields Road, the train goes round and round. You've never lived unless you've been on the Glasgow Underground.
Well, I joined the Glasgow Corporation in the year 1929. I came into Glasgow Corporation in these days as a conductor on the subway, as we called it in these days. Now it's got this fancy name of the Underground, but it was the subway in these days. And in these days, in 1929, the subway was driven by a cable, which was about 7 miles long. And this is how the subway was propelled in these days.
Glasgow District Subway, round the city in half an hour. The only underground cable railway in the world. Fares a penny and twopence according to distance. No need for timetables. Trains every few minutes with perfect regularity. Roomy and commodious cars. The interior decoration being generally light gives the car a very inviting and cheerful appearance. The doors, ends and partitions are of polished teak with panels of wainscot oak. The roof bearers are finished with white ash mouldings. The result is a handsome, roomy car. No smoke, no steam, perfect ventilation, 2.5 minutes station to station, cable speed 15 miles an hour. In its early days, Glasgow Subway was driven from a large powerhouse which stood in Scotland Street close to the main line railway. The old machinery has gone, but the building's still there today, now as an engineering workshop. Inside were the 2 steam engines, stationary of course, to drive the cables. Steam was supplied from a bank of 8 Lancashire boilers, fitted with mechanical stokers and working at a pressure of 100 pounds per square inch. Each of the 2 steam engines was rated at 1500 horsepower to drive the endless cables round the inner and outer circle. An elaborate system of pulleys and driving shafts transferred the power from the engines to the cables. The sheer inertia of the system had the effect of a large flywheel and helped the smooth running of the engines. As for the cables, each was 7 miles long. The tension run made provision for the varying load on the cable. The cable passed over a large pulley wheel mounted on a small railway truck. The truck was connected to a second, rather smaller truck, which moved along the same rails, working against a suspended weight. This whole system took up any slack in the cable and maintained a constant tension. From the tension run, the cables passed to the track under Scotland Street, and trains approaching this point on the circle had to release their grip on the cable and cast it off. The train simply coasted over the entry and exit points of the cable, and then the driver, or gripman as he was known, closed the jaws of the gripper back onto the cable. The art of good subway driving was to be able to get a smooth take-up when gripping the cable. The cable itself ran between the rails on pulleys which were angled as necessary on the curves. Train control was organized from station to station, and only when the station in front was clear could the station master release the semaphore signal at the end of the platform, allowing the train to proceed. The T-irons on the tunnel wall fed the train with electricity generated at the powerhouse in Scotland Street for the lights in the carriages. The most distinctive of all the subway landmarks is St Enoch Station. The world has changed around the station, but nowhere is there a better memorial to the aspirations of its Victorian builders.
In 1897, when the original underground was opened, the opening ceremony was attended by top-hatted dignitaries. 26th of March 1933, but this time they were without their top hats. And what an amazing system the Glasgow Underground has been. I think it's fair for me to say that the staff on the Underground throughout the operation have been first class. To have kept this mid-Victorian engineering masterpiece in full operation has been electrical engineering of the highest standard.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's with regret, really, that I come down this afternoon for the function which I have to perform. I often wondered, with the speculation of the modernisation ahead of us, whether, in fact, Mr. Hamilton would retire prior to the rolling stock, or whether the rolling stock would retire prior to him.
The rolling stock has won. Willie Hamilton is retiring more than 40 years after he first joined the subway, a mere youngster alongside these veterans of the tunnels under Glasgow.
They've got boxes for us down here, but they're really ticket boxes. They're not really meant to be a seat, you know. You can sit in them if you want, but I prefer myself to stand. And quite honestly, in 25 years, I don't think I've sat more than half a dozen journeys. I prefer to stand, you know, just lean my back against the... Although I suffer from a lot of back trouble, unfortunately, you know, lumbago, and the doctor said it's caused me so much standing. Because you do approximately, say, 35, 40 miles. Journey is one part of your duty, and then you're off for a wee while, and then you come back and you do another 35, 40 miles, depending on the number of hours that were on the section, you know.
Each train carries a driver and conductor, who together with the station staff and inspectors are referred to as the green staff. They're responsible for operating the railway, and they're in the front line when it comes to dealing with the public. Perhaps their greatest challenge comes when Rangers are playing at home. Copeland Road Station is just round the corner from Ibrox Park, and on match days the subway brings thousands of fans to see the game. The trickiest days by far are those when the two big Glasgow teams, Rangers and Celtic, meet to fight it out. As all the world knows, Celtic colours are green, and there's not much you can do to disguise a standard issue green uniform. The one wish common to all green staff on those occasions is for a draw at least. The green staff have their own football tactics at Copeland Road. Football fans of all shapes, sizes and temperaments pass through the station on the way to Ragame. It's not too bad taking them to the match. They'll all arrive by the train load in a steady stream. But while the fans are on the terracing, an uneasy calm falls on Copeland Road. Just time to grab a quick cuppa and prepare for the onslaught when the game finishes. Then back they come in their thousands, jubilant or disillusioned, but with one common purpose, to get on the first available subway train. When there's a big match, it can take up to 2 hours to clear the queues. With 2 booking office windows working flat out, it's simply a matter of feeding them down onto the platform and packing them onto the train as fast as possible. Off with the train to let the next one in, and so it goes on until the sea of scarves, rosettes and rattles is no more.